Welcome to this next C language session. This today's session we are going to learn some Scanf function programs and here we start with the first code, that is write a program to input roll number, name and subject marks, calculate and show total marks. So I here first type the header file stdio.h. Then the next line I type main function, and here I type integer roll number. So variable is to store values, and the type we define, either integer, either float, either character, depends on a value what we wish to get from user. Now the next line I declare one another variable to store name as well as the subject marks. So we go step by step. I here ask user to enter roll number. So printf function just labels the program and lets user that you enter the roll number. The next line I type scanf function and I pass two different parameters. The first is %d to get integer input. The next parameter is to store that integer input to the memory address of roll number. The next line here I type printf, again I type enter name, and now scanf function is going to read name. So if you type C, %c stands you want to read a single character, and to read multiple characters as a name type %s. And where I store the name of user, I need a one variable. I here declare a one char type variable as student name. You also remember some steps here, some rules of variables, how we declare variable. In the name of variable, don't include any space. As well, begin that variable name with some any alphabet, small, capital, anything. Numbers allowed only after the alphabet. Anywhere like this you can add the numbers if required. Instead of space you can use underscore. Other symbols not allowed, but in C language underscore is a valid symbol in the name of variable. But this variable is of character type and only we can store a single character. To store multiple characters, in the box bracket you can define the size, how many characters you want to read from user. So this is the maximum size, the number of characters you can read from user while you run the code is maximum 20 characters. So this type of variable is now a string variable, and the identifier we type %s, and here I type student name. So here I get a input as a student name. Next I want to read subject marks. So this third line I declare some more variables, subject 1, subject 2 and subject 3. These variables if you declare on the same line, then also it's correct. So some habits you can follow. I can keep separate the subject variables and the roll number variable, but if you declare on the same line, it is also correct. The next line here I ask user that enter marks of subject 1, and the content inside the double quotes, that is completely customizable. If you type only subject 1, maybe you type enter marks, so that labeling is not a part of syntax. Labeling you can type, you can decide at your own. I like to here design my output like this: enter subject 1 marks, and the next line I type scanf function. Here I type %d, so the address I provide for subject 1, I just select copy, and here I paste for the subject 2. Here is subject 2. As well, I ask user to enter subject 3 marks, and this I type subject 3. The next line, I want to make total, so I type total is equal to subject 1 plus subject 2 plus subject 3. Need a one another variable to store subject total marks. I declare here one variable total. Now when we declare variable, we also need to remember how much memory size the variable reserve. So integer reserve the 2 byte memory, character reserve 1 byte memory, and if we provide any size, then it reserve the 20 byte of memory. Again integer, it reserves the 2 byte of memory. So here is the total marks. The next line, I here type total marks is equal to percent %d, because the total variable is in integer, and to print that value, the pattern of the identifier is percent %d. For float we type percent %f, for character we type percent %c. Now here is the total mark. Just differentiate two different functions, printf and scanf. Printf is to output the value, scanf is to read value from user. So maybe you are thinking why to write here, can I write scanf function for total like this? So it's not necessary, because the scanf we type only when we want to take a input from user. So total we make calculation, total we calculate, we not take input from user. Okay, so the calculation we do, and that only we print. So you can decide when to use scanf and when to use printf. Now this is my program. I save this program with the extension .c. Always remember, when you type C program, the extension should be .c. So mistakenly if you save it .cpp, then you cannot run. So this is my program number 9, and the extension you can see it is a .c. Okay, program 9.c. I click save. Next part is click on the button compile to compile, then run to run. You can see it is asking me to enter a roll number of student. So here I enter roll number 102. I type name and the marks in subject 1, subject 2 and subject 3. So the total is 257. Now the next code, I here explain you the memory size and memory range, how we can identify how much memory size, how much memory range, the minimum maximum value for the data types for the compilers. Maybe you coding your programs on dev C++ or code blocks, turbo C++ or DOSBox. So such software, such tools, they reserve some memory space for the variables. But means how much memory, how we can get, how we can identify how much memory reserved for the data types variables. I here show you one demo. This is a title of code. Write a program to print memory size of primitive data types. Now here I type of code hash include stdio.h. The next line I type main function, and now here I type a one statement printf memory size of primitive data types. It is a just title. The next line I type printf again, and the short data type here I print like this, size of short. Size of is an operator in C language used to get memory size required for data type in dev C++. If you type this program in DOSBox or code blocks, so there also program remains same, but the memory size vary from one compiler to other. In dev C++ or code blocks, short data type requires 2 byte of memory, while In Turbo C++, short data type requires only 1 byte. Now in the next line, I type again printf function integer is equal to %d, comma size of integer. So the word is without space, size of. The next line I again type, I also want to check with the long data type. I type %d and here I type size of long data type. So don't wonder why we not type ld for long, or even if I type float is equal to %d, comma size of float. Okay, so the float, we type %f, but just see the output. The memory size we print, that memory size comes in integer or not? That memory size comes in integer or not? So the integer value we print using %d. This part of word, this part of labeling is to just understand which memory I am going to print. So the next line, I also like to print memory size for character. So I type %c, comma size of character, but I must write %d. The memory size comes in integer, 1 byte, 2 byte, like that. That's why I type %d. Save this code. Now this program is 10th program, and then I click on the compile option. So after execution, you can see in dev C++, short data type requires 2 byte, integer requires 4 byte, long requires 4 byte, float requires 4 byte, and character requires 1 byte. The same program if you run in the Turbo C or the DOSBox, so the answer you will get something different. So depends on the compiler, size will be quite different. Okay, like float and char, they require same memory in all the compilers, but the short, int and long, they requires the different memory size. This is a one code to understand how much memory space reserve while we compile a code in that particular editor. The next code I here discuss with you to print the minimum and maximum size of that variable, that data type. Write a program to print mean and max values of primitive data types. Now here I type hash include stdio.h. Next I type main function, and I here declare a one variable called integer. I not need any variable, but I can title this code as mean and max values of primitive data types. And the next line I type printf. For short, I want to print the mean and max values, and for that I here call a one function shrt underscore mean, shrt underscore mean, and to print max I type shrt underscore max. But the meaning is what? So I told you while we discussed the topic data types, header files limits.h and float.h, there these all the variables, the constants declared, and the data types they present in the C drive TC folder. So include folder, if you open limits.h, you can see here is the limits.h. If you open that file, then there you will find the constants. You can see the shrt max and shrt mean, they are the variables in that variable limits.h. So here I include limits.h, and the next line I type shrt mean and shrt max. Just I want to print the mean and max value for the data type short. Now I type %d to %d. I show you the output. I save this code, program 11.c. I compile and now run the code. So it prints short is -3 to 768 to +3 to 767. So depends on the compiler you are using, the memory range also vary. I also want to print here the short like that integer %d to %d, and for integer we type int mean, int max. I save this code. As well, I like to print for long data type. Now I type %ld because the range is in long type, and I type long underscore mean, long underscore max. So these constants, you can open a file and here you can find what is the name of that particular type. Okay, so here is the variable. I save, I click on the compile, then I click on run. So this prints integer and long as -2147483648 the +1. Integer and long, they reserve the same byte of memory as well. The range is also same in dev C++, but in DOSBox it is different. Like this, you can go for float.h and you can find the memory range for float data type, double data type, and long double data type. So this is the program to demonstrate the minimum and maximum value for the data types. This code I discussed with you how to print memory size, and this is the one another program I discussed with you how to print the roll number, how to read data from user. Now here we discuss a one quite complex example, logical example. Write a program to input two numbers and perform swapping. So here is I first include the header file stdio.h. The next line I type main function, and here I declare two different variables. I ask user to enter value of a and b. Using a single scanf also, you can read two different variable values. If you supply two parameters, two identifier patterns, then you can store two values. So a single scanf also can read two values. The next line I like to print the data of that a and b. So a is equal to, I type %d. I use /t to keep some space. B is equal to %d, and the line I print a comma b. So line number 12 is to just output the values inside the variable a and b. I save this code also. This is program 12.c, and I click compile, run the code. So this prints the two different numbers. I just, let's say 39, it prints 10 and 39. You input values and then you just output again what is a and what is b. The question is to swap the numbers. Means, let's say user enters the first number as 12 and second number as 15. So the a prints 12, b prints 15. I want to replace the values a with b and b with a. So that you can do using one logic. If you take one another variable extra c, and in that if you keep a variable value a, now consider a is empty, the a you fill with variable b. Now consider b is empty and the b we replace with the variable c. That means we are just making a replacement between the two different variable values, and later if you again print after swapping a is equal to %d and b is equal to %d, so you can result the output. Save this code. So I need one another variable here, it is variable c. Compile and run the code. Let's say the values are 12 and 34. If I press enter, so after swapping the result is a is 34, b is 12. Swapping is to just replace the two variables with the values. You have a challenging assignment. Write a program to input two numbers and perform swapping without using extra variable. So now you try quite logical, that is you input two numbers like me and perform swapping without using any extra variable. So only using a and b, you try and print the output swapping of the two numbers. Okay, so in my last some sessions I seen that user just write here b and here a. Output only it looks like swapping, but physically the value is not replaced. So I hope you will try best, and you will print the output exactly same like me, but it will print the swapping of the numbers. I discuss one another program with you. The program is, write a program to input 5-digit integer number and replace its last digit with product of first and last digit. The example is, if user input a number like this, then I want answer as 8475. Replace last digit with the product of first and last digit. 8 into 2 is 16. Replace that last digit with the 16. First we include here a header file stdio.h. The next line I type main function, and after that here I type integer type, let's say a variable number, and I ask user to enter a 5-digit number. Enter 5-digit number. The next line I type scanf function, and this is I type %d comma address of the variable name is number. And the next line here I am going to perform one mathematics that replace the last digit with the product of first and last digit. Just consider the user input is 69348. So how I replace the last digit with the product of first and last digit? So we go step by step. Now you remember, now you here first try separating the first and last digit. So if I type number upon 10,000, so it comes 6. The number you divide with value 10,000, so the answer comes 6.9348. But I told you the division, if it is in integer, so you will get only the integer answer. The division you can see they both are integer, so answer also comes in integer. That's why the bracket you will get answer as a only 6. So if I type number modulus 10, the meaning is remainder calculation. This number if you divide by 10, 8 remains. The 8 remains. So this is how you separate the first digit, you separate the last digit, and I make a multiplication between them. So the meaning of this equation is 6 multiplication 8. It is 54. I want to replace the last digit. So I show you how I replace. Let's say if I type number upon 10, meaning of number upon 10 is 6934.8, but it is integer, so you will get a one value 6934 only. I just keep that values just to understand the equation 6934. You will get answer if you type number upon 10. If you type number upon 10,000, you will get answer 6. If you type number modulus 10, you will get 8. So 6 into 10, 8, 54. 6934 is the answer for number upon 10. I here type multiplication 100. So if I make multiplication of 6934 into 100, I get answer as like this 693,400. Now the next step is this I keep inside the bracket like this, and here I keep a one plus symbol. So 6 into 8 I told you 54. My mistake. 6 into 8 is the 48, and the multiplication I am going to add in this value. So the number 6936400 plus 48, that means you will get answer 693448. So just see the answer, the 8 you replace with multiplication of 6 into 8. Perfect. So this is the equation you can type to get the output. I just keep that answer in the same variable. Now if I type after replace last digit %d comma I type number. Okay. Now I save this code. Let's say this is program number 13.c. Here I click compile and run. So I can type any number, let's say this one. Okay, so the answer I expect 896532. The last digit I replaced with the product of first and last digit. Hope you enjoyed and understood this session. For any doubts and questions, you can email or comment. This is the session today. We stop here. Thanks.